Jessica, you've been with the business since the start. Share with people what Sable Labs is and the role that sustainability has played in it since you guys, set up the business.
Of course. Hi, everyone. It's it's amazing to see so many faces here. This is wicked. So I'm Jessica DeBrune. I'm the Chief Product Officer of Sable Labs. It is a cool brand, I will
Super
admit.
cool. Super cool.
It's actually founded by Idris and Sabrina Elba. It's really developed about conscious communities and powerful partnerships. We launched last July in the skincare space with 5 really incredible products. So we're just really trying to really redefine beauty and what melanin inclusive skincare is. The brand is really about kind of owning those powerful partnerships and just being a very inclusive, diverse brand because we felt there was just such underrepresentation in the industry right now. So we just really wanted to kind of own that space. Sustainability, obviously, is why we're all here. It's very, very important to us. It comes really truly from our founders, who obviously are kind of like the power couple when it comes to sustainability. Idris and Sabrina work for the UN. They also sit on the board for International Fund for Agricultural Development. They're also part of Conservation International and Global Citizens. So it only puts a little bit of pressure on myself as the product developer to kind of lead that extension of themselves and the values that they share into the product range. But I feel like we've done a good job of it. The ingredients are all kind of inspired behind Idris and Sabrina's cultures and heritages, and just ingredients that have really been cultivated through, their families. So we kind of incorporate a lot of those really hero African ingredients. And like I said, just trying to really redefine melanin inclusive skincare.
Okay. And when you came in and they said this is the crazy thing we want to do and this is what we're about and we want to be a sustainable business, which can mean 100 different things to a million different people. How did you start? How did you know, okay, I'm gonna start at this point and this is where we're gonna shoot from?
Great question. It was, first of all, obviously, because of Sabrina and Idris, we knew we had to have purpose behind the brand, and we knew that it wasn't just going to be, a company that just pumps out products for no reason. We knew that when we were going into formulations that we wanted to have maximum impact on the skin, but also with minimum harm on the planet. And that's kind of how we developed everything that we do in terms of our supply chain and our packaging, is just to maximize it so you have less steps and less waste. So that was kind of foundation number one. And then we obviously met Diana and Positive Luxury and the rest of the team that opened our eyes beyond wide and really
to the other 100 definitions.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Really, taught myself and the team that sustainability doesn't mean having your packages be recyclable. The word is beyond grandiose, and it was really, leaning on your guys' partnership to really teach us a lot about that and just kind of flip us upside down and really dive into what ESG really means.
We didn't literally flip her upside down.
It felt like it.
George.
But we actually met at such a beautiful stage in our partnership as well, because we were just kind of going into the brand and, having that understanding and education from you guys really was imperative at the very beginning, because we didn't have a lot of our decisions made at that time. We knew what we wanted to do, but we weren't sure really how to properly action it and just kind of evolve from, having recycled packaging. The first step that we kind of took as well is we thought, well, we knew we wanted to work with rural farmers because Idris and Sabrina work on the grounds in Africa very closely. So we wanted to make sure that was the impact we wanted to have. And we did think going into this, we were sustainable because we had a traceable supply chain partner. And then, then we learned
that's a very laudable first step.
That's like one little tiny piece of it. So yeah, that was kind of step one. And as we evolve, I think it's always just about being transparent. And I think that's the one thing that's really stuck with me, is as long as you're communicating and you're very transparent with your partners and making sure you kind of flesh out that code of conduct, then that's for me step one.
Cool.
Yeah.
What have been some of your biggest headaches or challenges as you guys were trying to bring this to life?
Lots. Lots.
Let's just go for it.
I think because for us, we wanted to make sure that it had such powerful purpose. We didn't want to go into the brand and kind of take something that already pre-existed and just kind of go with the status quo. We challenged a lot of the way cosmetics are made in general, or supply chains are in general, and kind of just tried to switch that way of thinking a little bit. Obviously, with sourcing, that was a big one for us, because we thought, why, there's the way ingredient sourcing is, there's a few distribution partners, and there's a catalog of what's available, and that's really limited. And because we wanted to make sure that we had such strong impacts of our farmers, and know who those people are, see the faces that are seriously sacrificing their lives and putting their hands in the soil to make our product. So that was really important to us, and we wanted to make sure we knew who these people were. So we didn't want to just flip through the catalog and say, we're going to use this baobab. We wanted to know and go to Africa and say, these are the farmers we want to work with, and try and integrate that into our supply chain. So back to the biggest challenge was we had this one ingredient that we wanted to use, which is called castle. And I don't know if you guys has anyone ever heard of castle? Yeah, me either.
Everyone's like, new rare ingredient. Everyone in beauty world is going.
I never have heard of it either, but it's used in Somalia for generations, and it looks like matcha powder. It's green, but the women in Somalia put it on all day long and just kind of use it as like a clarifying, purifying treatment. And Vogue has recently actually said that it's Africa's best kept secret ingredient. So we knew we wanted to use this because Sabrina and her mom and her grandmother have always used this, but obviously this ingredient is not common in the cosmetic industry.
In the catalog?
Not at all.
Okay.
So we actually used Sabrina's mom, which was interesting. She's now my supply chain partner, to go to Africa to meet some Somali farmers, because as of myself, it was very hard to obviously communicate to these farmers in London. It's impossible. So she went there for me, met the farmers, helped them do their harvest, completed the DHL forms. Obviously, because this ingredient wasn't used in skincare before, we had to make sure that it went through all the regulations. So we did all that. We got the product, the ingredient tested and irrigated. We had to get the safety sheets and obviously make sure that these partners were able to scale with us. And we ended up doing it, which is honestly a really big achievement, because we've now introduced this really key ingredient that's been used generationally forever into kind of the modern contemporary skincare space. So that was a challenge, and I want to say that we're trying to kind of evolve our supply chain into being all like 100% traceable farmers. So we know exactly where these are coming from, but that is very challenging. And we kind of took that on in the beginning, where we're like, we want all of our raw materials to come from everyone we know, but it is quite challenging. And I think there's obviously reasons why there are distribution partners that try and help you do this along the way, but we wanted to make an impact directly and know that those people they have the impact hands-on, and we know we're making a difference in their livelihoods, and we can just see it and have that relationship with them. So
and so if we had 6 people standing in the room today who secretly want to set up a new business next year, and they want that business to be founded in sustainability like you guys did, what advice would you give them to be a from birth sustainable business?
I would say step one is to learn what the definition of sustainability is, because obviously myself going into it, I felt like it was one thing, but there's so much that encompasses what sustainability is. I think understanding it's not just packaging, and I think so many brands and consumers are kind of misled into thinking that, oh, well, they don't use plastic around their box, so they're actually quite sustainable. But there's so much more to that. It's about your social contributions. It's like your company culture. It's how you're treating internally, but also externally. And I think that's also so forgotten. It's how you're operating logistically and what people don't see behind the scenes, and what's happening in your fulfillment centers, or what's happening with your retail partners. And I think those types of conversations aren't really ever had. And so I would definitely say, educate yourself and just make sure that before you go into anything, you really vet everyone you work with. I think your code of conduct is one of the most important things you can have in your business, because if you don't have that initial buy-in of the transparency of the information that you will need, then you're really only as sustainable as your weakest supply chain partner. And I think you
Yeah,
said that to me, and it really stuck out because, you know, you can have your tier 1 supply chain kind of locked in, but what about your tier 3? And they're just so forgotten. So I think clear communication and clear transparency about these are our goals from the beginning. What are your goals? And making sure that they do align, because you really need strong partners to make this work, because you can't do this alone as one brand and one company. You really need the buy-in of everyone along the way.
Okay, and let's get on to my favorite subject, because I used to be a marketeer in my early days. So I want to talk about how do you identify what's important to your customers in terms of sustainability? How do you deliver transparency, or what do you, define that for us, and tell us how you bring that message to life?
It's just repetition, you know? I think there's so much stories that we have as Sable, where we want to talk about our supply chain, we want to talk about our sourcing, we want to talk about kind of the way our industry is, but also we want to make sure that our customers know all the specs. They know they have the information on the packaging. They understand, it's 100% refillable. It's 100% PCR material. It goes in this bin. It's how you recycle it, and just kind of guide them along the way, because they need the information to make the right decision for themselves. Because there's so much back and forth between what's the best option. Is it aluminum? Is it glass? Is it package? Is it plastic? There's so many different options and so many different perspectives. And I think just being as transparent and honest and giving all the information as you possibly can, I think that's a really big step, because even myself as a consumer, I'm looking at different makeup brands or skincare brands and wondering, well, where does that come from? They're saying it's sustainable or it's this or that, but they're not really proving it, or they're not really providing any evidence. And ultimately, I think that's a little bit of a greenwashing move. But yeah, I think just being as transparent and just re-delivering that message over and over, and why it matters. We have refill options, and giving them the information that if you buy a refill, it's 90% less waste as opposed to buying the full size. So just kind of providing that insight, I think, helps them make the best decision.
Have you had any surprising feedback from consumers about what they want, what they respond to your sustainability efforts? I mean, what do people tell you?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think for a brand that is kind of trying to challenge the status quo in terms of like ingredients and the way our brand's positioned, I think people are often surprised almost that we wanted to go as far as we did in terms of the impacts and the actions, and just trying to really question everything. And even our supply chain, our packaging partners, where we question them so much that they get frustrated, and they're always trying to push their best product on you. But having that background information of understanding the waste or the impact, I think that's really important. It kind of frustrates them a little bit, because they're ultimately trying to push something on you as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got one final question, and then I'm going to open it up. So I was a marketing person, but secretly I'm an accountant.
Okay.
So I can see that what you've done has ticked all the boxes in terms of business responsibility. Do you guys believe it is making you a more commercially successul business?
That's a great question, because my CFO is over there, and she's always being like, Jess, because this is actually the issue in the industry, I think, because I talk to a lot of packaging suppliers and any type of supplier, and their constant feedback is interesting. It's always saying, well, the demand's not there. There's so much innovation in different industries, but I feel like we're so limited in the cosmetic space to what has evolved recently.
Yep.
Because we have very high dreams of like what, we don't want to use what's available. We don't want to look like everyone. We don't want the same kind of packaging that everyone has, but the industry just hasn't provided further options yet.
Yep.
And when we kind of challenge them, it's always, well, the demand's not there. So I think as developers and as consumers, we really need to shout, because it is here. And I think they're just playing a little bit ignorance to it, because maybe they don't want to. I'm not sure why, but I just wish that there would be a little bit more innovation in the packaging industry, because it comes at such a high price point.
Yeah.
We wanted to make sure everything is 100%. We chose to use plastic, but recycled plastic. So everything is 100% post-consumer plastic. And that has a price tag, like 5 times more than a virgin plastic. And we also want it to be refillable, which also has a different type of price tag. So yeah, it's
a long-term
I want to
investment.
say that we want to do this brand, and we've said this from the beginning, to kind of shake things a bit and not go with just what's standard, and kind of make people open their eyes. And I'll say, my founders, Sabrina, and especially Idris, are really powerful in that, because I come from a cosmetic industry where I'm like, you have a box, and then you have another box inside, and then you might have a cap and a plastic and all these things and shiny pieces, but we're just so used to that. Yeah. And then, it was Idris who really was like, but why do we need this and this and this and this? Like, this makes no sense. So yeah, it was really kind of trying to shake that up a little bit. So to answer your question, I don't know if we're doing it for the profit. Yeah. We're doing it because we really care, and we wanted to have a purpose behind it. And we knew we weren't going to make something that didn't speak to our values. And yeah, we really tried to hold that as like a guiding star from the very beginning. And I'll say, even our whole team, we'll kind of get into operations, and we'll say, okay, we'll make this decision. But there's always someone on the team that kind of brings you back to that guiding light and says, no, have you thought about this? And making sure the whole team is on the same kind of mindset and with the same guiding star is really important, because like I said, you can't do this alone, and there's just so many different factors that you don't think about, especially in the entire supply chain. And it takes a team to do it.
Well, you're trailblazing, and I'm sure that's going to win for you in the midterm.
Oh,
I'm absolutely positive. Who's got any questions they'd love to ask Jessica in our time?
What?
Come on, someone break the ice.
Has anyone tried?
Okay, excellent, excellent. We've got.
I wish I did. I'll tell you more about it. Yeah. So it's all genderless. It is, of course, vegan and cruelty-free. But the reason we developed it was really to target needs that I felt like the industry didn't really speak to. And kind of the basis of all the formulations are really around hyperpigmentation and inflammation. And we did that because we felt like there was, well, obviously with Idris and Sabrina, there's just different kind of marketing tactics that all of us absorb, and we all kind of fall into. But at the end of the day, we all face sun damage and aging. So we really wanted to just create products that spoke to all needs. Yes, skin types are different, but we really wanted just to make it like as inclusive, and make sure that our ingredients, not only like our images, but our ingredients really speak to our consumers in a very safe and effective, affordable way.
What's your hero product?
My hero product, we have two, and we kind of always go back and forth with it internally. But mine is definitely the Black Seed Toner. So it is genderless, like I said, but we use the toner also as a post shave, because men often get hyperpigmentation and little razor burns and inflammation. So it's really powerful in that sense. It's really helped take that inflammation down, and it just provides radiance. They're also very multi-effective. I come from a makeup background, so I do Sabrina and Idris's makeup as well. So we wanted to make sure these products are compatible with all makeup. They're compatible with different skin types, but they work. We didn't want any fluff around it. We wanted to make sure that if we're going to do this, it has to be here, and there has to be a space for it. We're not just going to make like a hand cream for the heck of it. We wanted to really make a difference and be here for a reason.
Have you got new products in development?
Lots.
I mean, there's a couple I know about, but
it's the best part of the job. But it's
exciting.
It's fun.
Times.
Yeah.
Good. Any other? Yeah, excellent. Go for it.
And so I don't know if you guys interesting. I think that we're always trying to incorporate new ingredients for sure. It's funny because we always want to make sure we tie it back to Africa, and especially ingredients that speak to Sabrina and Idris. So shea is obviously something that is, they both have used generationally forever. And keeping it in a raw format is, I think you get that when it's in the raw format, you get that really beautiful smell as well. So absolutely, I think there'll be different ways to incorporate that. But yeah, we do use raw materials and kind of keep it natural. But I will say we like to keep the balance because we don't want to take too much of the demand from the raw materials from the earth, and we do like to make sure that it's heightened or boosted with synthetic ingredients. We're using more biotech and using more food upcycling to kind of eliminate the singular development for the skincare. But yeah, I think we're still trying to always incorporate new ingredients and make sure that it makes sense to the heritage of the brand.
Nice. I like the mix of art and science there. That's important. Very important. So anyone else? Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. We're learning, right? So we just launched not too long ago. So it's evolving. The ball's rolling, but we only currently distribute in the States and in the UK. So we do know our audience is absolutely between the ages of 20 to 50, 45. I will say more middle class, but absolutely more female driven right now. We really are trying to bring the men with us because we did really develop this for a simplified male routine as well. We like the whole aspect of coupledom as well and kind of practicing self-care with your partner because there's such a gap in the industry of I think men growing up where they didn't really have someone kind of teach them about skincare. So it's fun to kind of bring the skincare users who know their stuff and are kind of really creditable in the space, but also kind of introduce the newness to a male customer as well and kind of teach them about skincare. So it's an interesting balance right now. Yeah.
So if I want to go buy your hero product and get my husband to start using it as well as me, where do we buy it here in the UK?
You can buy it online right now. Yeah. So it's stablelabs.co. Like I said, we're currently only on e-commerce, but very soon we're going into a retail. So you can see us. Maybe if you follow us on Instagram, you'll find out who they are.
That's excellent. Any other questions? No. Well, thank you very much. Now, once again, you've got to check out these products. This is a super cool business making great products in a really, really, really solid way. So make sure you go online and have a look. It's a beautiful, beautiful collection.
Thank you.
So congratulations on
that.
I know you've worked very hard, and I look forward to seeing what we do with you in the future.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jessica.
Thank you for the questions. Thank you.